Welcome back to part 2 of our JonBenét Ramsey episode. I don't fucking know. Shannon, what is your theory?
I love that I was so sure one day, and then like 5 days later, totally opposite. 2 days later, some other thing. But I think that comes from just like trying things on fully,
Yeah.
right? Because all of this stuff could be true, like in a certain situation, right? A mom could lose control and throttle her daughter and push her and or bash her head in and then be like, oh shit, and then cover it up. That could totally happen. It could also be the case that, John was working at the beginning of the dot-com boom in this company that was merging and changing, and he was firing people, and could be a disgruntled person who was targeting John. That's my current theory. But it could also be, a brother who is pissed off at his sister and is envious of her and finally has had enough and bashes her overhead with a, it could have been any of these things. My theory is that John was this is John's theory. John was targeted by someone, and that person went into their house while they were at the Christmas party. Obviously, this person was like really into kidnapping movies. I guess that night, 7:30 that night, the Nick of Time aired in Boulder. It's where an unnamed political faction kidnaps a 6-year-old. But that was the time of all those movies. There was, like, Dirty Harry, Ruthless People, Ransom, Nick of Time, Die Hard, Speed. All those movies had an element. And if you look at the language of the letter, it's not verbatim, but a lot of the lines from that letter come from these movies. Like, there's one line that's like, "So you so much as look at a Pekingese and we'll kill your daughter," or whatever, and they just said, "You so much as talk to a stray dog," But so I imagine a person who is very angry with John. There's one specific person they've already investigated that I think is super suspicious. It's a friend of his who got let go and then like filed this ethics complaint and said he was going to take down John. He was going to take down the company. He ended up with a settlement that was like around $100,000, but some people say it was double what it was supposed to be. They halved it, and he got a settlement of $118,000. That's not confirmed. John's like, I can't remember if it was 118 or 100. But this guy, I imagine somebody with a vendetta and a chip on their shoulder wanted to hurt John. Came in their house, wrote that letter, went downstairs, waited for them to get home. After everybody went to bed, went and got JonBenét and killed her, and then left. Wrote the note because they wanted John to know that it was about him. And the letter was all about work, all about money. I don't know. That just for me feels like it's possible and makes sense given the content of that letter, given the nature of his business.
The essay.
Yeah. the novella. And it also just sounded like when the Brett and Alice were kind of analyzing it, they were like, there's just a lot of flourishes in this thing, and some of it sounds rehearsed and then some of it doesn't. And I just imagine a person who's like angry, resentful, envious, and wanting to destroy their lives, his life.
Who happens to have feminine handwriting.
I don't know if it's feminine.
Why not burn down the house, dude? Why not just fucking burn down the house? That sends a really big fucking message. I want to ruin your life.
But you wouldn't know who it was. So this is the other thing. Oh, you can send a message. But like, there was another thing where someone eventually confessed to John that they were the person that did it. It's not that they don't believe this person is credible.
Yeah.
But this guy came out of the woodwork and said he was hired by somebody who wanted to get back at John. He went into their house, he wrote the letter, and he killed their kid. But everybody has deemed him not credible.
Right.
A lot of those things have happened in this case. I mean, why write the letter? I mean, if you're just a regular old intruder and you want to do some pedo stuff, you get in and you get out. There was no reason to write that letter. It was not going to confuse anyone if you didn't leave any DNA and you didn't leave any fingerprints and you came in and did what you were going to do and you left. Like, why do the letter unless you want them to know why you did it? I don't know. That's my theory. But it could be Patsy panicking, and I can see that theory too.
Yeah. Oh man. So My theory now, my theory now is that it was John and Patsy. The reason why is because, in part, well, there's a few things. One is, and all of it is circumstantial, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't have happened.
Mhm.
The blinds were up in JonBenét's room. There was stuff on the bed that seemed to indicate that she never even went to bed that night.
Mhm.
Patsy was wearing the exact same thing that she wore at the Christmas party, and she had a full face of makeup on.
But didn't she say she got up and got ready, though? She started getting ready, like, putting on her makeup?
And put on the exact same outfit that she wore the night before. This is a fucking ex-beauty queen
I
with
do
a
that all the
huge
time.
closet.
I do that all the time. Out of just, like, if they had to leave on an early flight, I could totally imagine not wanting to think about it, and you're
I
already
just
like
think
yeah,
if you're putting on a full face of makeup, if you're
yeah.
bothering to put on a full face of makeup, why not bother to change your clothes? Presumably, if you're working with, like, they have the whole upstairs is their bedroom. It's the size
Mhm.
of a house. Their
Mhm.
whole upstairs. She's got a walk-in closet, a lot of clothes. She cares very much about how she looks.
It was 5:30 in the morning, and she was in her own house. So I don't know.
5:30 in the morning, why put makeup on at all? You're gonna go make coffee. Why not make your coffee, take it upstairs, and get yourself ready? She wanted to go make coffee. I'm just saying, if you're
Yeah,
gonna put on the makeup,
yeah.
it's one or the other. Either it's your own house, you don't really care, and you're gonna put on the same clothes, or you care about how you look, so you put your makeup on. If you're gonna put on fresh makeup, you're gonna put on fresh clothes. Just saying. Suspicious to me. Again, I don't know Patsy. It's just, if I'm working with millions of dollars, I live in this fancy house, I put image is everything to me, to the point that I put makeup, bleach my daughter's hair, put false teeth in her mouth, and send her to beauty pageants. I probably care about image a lot.
But I think that people are just generally more slovenly at
I
home.
would not.
Like,
Patsy may be a lot of things. Slovenly is not a
but
word that
she
I
was
would use to
half
describe
but
her.
didn't she have half of her outfit on and then half pajamas? I thought she
No,
had
that
half.
was JonBenét.
Okay. But I mean, she's just getting ready to leave. They're not leaving yet.
Right,
So you're
but she
just
has a full face of makeup on.
mhm.
And she's going down to the kitchen to get coffee. So she's wearing the same clothes from the night before. She has makeup on. I'm saying, maybe,
Mhm.
just maybe, she didn't go to bed that night.
If she's gonna cover it up, she would just change, maybe. Anyway, but yes,
Not if you're fucking panicked, you just bashed your daughter's head in. I'm just saying,
yeah.
there's some things. So and this goes to the point where I think that John was working with her on
Mm.
this. So she goes down. JonBenét was wearing half her outfit from the Christmas party, and the other half was the long johns and underwear that didn't fit. So it looked like she never went to bed that night because she was not in a full set of pajamas. She
Mm.
was wearing her shirt from the Christmas party. She still had her jewelry on, but
Mhm.
the bottom part of her was wearing Burke's old pajama bottoms and a pair of underpants that didn't fit. There was poopy toilet paper that was kind of like near the bathroom, as though an accident had happened.
Mm. Gross.
And also some paper, I want to say, in like the downstairs bathroom. My theory is that they get home late. They've got a lot to do. They've got early travel the next day. Patsy and JonBenét had already been fighting earlier that day because Patsy wanted JonBenét to twin with her and wear the same matching red sweater that Patsy was wearing to the party. And JonBenét didn't want to do that. And JonBenét was being very willful. So there was already that established, that there was just, JonBenét was being a 6-year-old.
Mm.
So my theory is that they get home, they go upstairs, Burke goes to bed, John goes to bed, and Patsy is getting JonBenét ready for bed. JonBenét messes herself. Patsy, frustrated. Maybe JonBenét was being sassy with her. Patsy grabs her, is aggressively wiping her. JonBenét is wrestling around, uncomfortable.
Mhm.
This clearly has happened before. Injuries to JonBenét's vagina show that she has had prior vaginal injuries in the past. I don't think she was molested, but I do think that Patsy would become frustrated and angry with her quite a bit because of toileting issues, bad toileting issues. So she's like wiping her aggressively. JonBenét is struggling. Patsy grabs her, like, stop it, stop fucking blah, 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 blah. Pushes her. JonBenét slams her head into the tub edge. Patsy panics. She's freaking out. She's upset. She doesn't act right away. Probably upset, freaking out about this, feels ashamed, probably had a lot of shame. She wakes John up and she tells him. John immediately goes into have to fix this, have to fix this, have to fix this. This is a man who is huge. He's a public figure. He's got his family to protect, because so now they're thinking in terms of how do we protect this family? This is going to look bad. If we call the police, if we call an ambulance, this is going to look bad. John wants to protect Patsy. She survived cancer. She's still not out of the woods completely on this. This was a horrible accident. Maybe they argue about it at first. How could you do this? Da, 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 da. But then he goes into action. The note was written by Patsy. It was dictated by John. He makes a point to point out, and somebody in the documentary I watched last night said, like they make a point of praising the company. They praise the company. They praise the work that he does.
Oh, and they also said that it looks like they wrote they do like you, and they crossed it out, and they don't like you, or something like that. Anyway,
the company is praised.
Yeah.
So John is collaborating with Patsy on this note. John has sailboat. He was in the Navy at one point in his life, so it's not hard to do a simple knot. But they work through the night to try and make this thing try to resolve this.
So they would have had to choke her out. So
no, so in my theory, Patsy throttled her originally out of frustration. That not choking out, she's as far as they're concerned, she's dead, right? She slammed her head. The garrote is for show. It was not actual strangulation.
They say it was because of the petechial hemorrhaging.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say to that. The fracture happens. Even a not super tight knot around her neck is going to result in petechial hemorrhaging because of the edema that results.
But the doctor said the medical examiner said the main cause of death was asphyxiation, and with a head injury. But they said the cause of death was an asphyxiation. So
I think that there's still some debate around that. So it could be that they tied it tight thinking she was dead. So they tie it, and the edema and sure, that killed her along with, the head injury was going to kill her anyway.
Yeah.
If she was just left. At the very least, she'd have horrible brain damage. But I don't think it was like, well, let's finish her off. I think they probably thought she was dead. And then they stage it, I think, to kind of obfuscate what actually happened. They put her in the basement. They write the note. And then they set about making sure that they don't follow the instructions in the note. Because obviously they both know. Because that was the thing too, where I was like, is John really going to ignore the contents of the note and tell Patsy to call 911 and bring, he's not a stupid man. He's not dumb. He didn't get to where he was by being an idiot. But to set forth these instructions that if you do this, bad things will happen, and then they immediately do them, means that she's dead.
But if they didn't do them, they could always have the excuse that they didn't, and then one of them could go dump the body. Anyway, but if they didn't follow the instructions, it would give them more time. If they wanted to hide the body, maybe they didn't.
You could also make the argument they don't want to hide the body because it's their daughter, and they want her to be close. They didn't want any of this. It could also be that was originally the plan, except that at this point, everything's closing in on them because they've got their house full of police. More police are arriving. More things are happening. The time has passed for the call to happen.
They gave
And
her
so
a 2-hour window. Did you know that?
yeah.
8 to 10.
The whole thing was ridiculous. But John then finally is like, fuck it. I'm going to go down. Let's disrupt the crime scene as much as possible. They call everybody they know to come over. People are milling about. And that basically all of this was done intentionally. And then, of course, he immediately, because this is a man of means, a man that has ties to the DA, he sets about working with his publicist, the publicity firm that they had, working with his own defense, because he knows he has power. And here we are. And that's everything comes back to the note for me. I have a hard time believing that even somebody that fucking has it in for John Ramsey is going to go chill at his house all fucking day, hang out, write an essay.
It wouldn't take that long. It would take like 20 minutes.
It's 3 pages, dude. Do you know how long it takes me to write fucking 3 pages?
But the writing is not like, it's not a lot of writing. If you look at it in print, it's like, it's pretty short, but it's on 3 pages because they wrote it. But I just,
if I had it in for John Ramsey, I would just write, I have your daughter. I'm going to fucking kill her. I hate you. You're a piece of shit. Fuck off.
But if you were like a grandiose narcissist who had a vendetta, you would write something like that, which is like so grandiose. Oh, John. And also to send him on a wild goose chase would also be pleasurable. Like, oh, I'm going to fuck with him. I'm going to make him go to his bank. I'm going to do all this stuff. I mean, that's just like this. To me, it feels like a punishing kind of like, I have all the power now. The hardest part for me to think about this, like if they did it, is like, why after being absolved by the DA would he still be coming out and saying, I'm desperately seeking answers, I'm working with the police department, go to CrimeCon every year? Like, I would just fade away into nothingness if I actually did it. And like, that's me. If I actually did it and the DA was like, okay, this DNA evidence absolves you, I would just shut up and go away and live my life. But they keep coming back. He keeps coming back.
Maybe he likes the attention. Maybe he's got a little bit of that grandiosity in him. I don't know. I mean, he married a very theatrical woman. Like Patsy used to, for her beauty pageants, man, so when people would do like the talent portion, she would act shit out and play both parts. That's weird. I'm sorry. Like, good for her. She's probably really good at it. But like, I just don't think it's a stretch. But the thing that always gets to me is if they legitimately received a note, legitimately, if it was a guy that hated John, they immediately go about doing everything wrong. Because we have to believe that they believe that someone has their daughter. And then they immediately set about doing everything in their power to piss this person off. I have a hard time believing that is what they do. He's not stupid. She's not stupid. The anxiety over your daughter being hurt or killed or tortured or any of that, I have a hard time believing that they would not, at the very least, in that 911 call that is recorded, say, we're not supposed to be calling you. We don't know what else to do. They have our daughter. They're threatening to kill her. Help. But none of that is communicated. And I think that's really weird. And so I don't want to believe that this happened, although I'd rather it be a tragic accident than somebody like tortured JonBenét.
I mean, it's much easier for me to believe that they were freaking out and they did what the majority of people do in ransom situations and they called the police, versus they choked their daughter out, if that's the cause of death, pretended they set it up that put her in bondage and then stuck a broken paintbrush up her vagina. Like,
we don't know that happened.
Well, they said there was wood that matched the paintbrush found inside her vagina. So, I mean,
wood particles from the paintbrush were found in her vagina. This is an absolute fact.
Yeah, I looked it up yesterday. Let me just pull it up again. I didn't.
Okay, because
so yes, a small amount of beer fringent foreign material, described as looking like wood under the microscope, was found in JonBenét's vaginal tissue during the autopsy performed by John Meyer on December 27th, 1996. In the section on vaginal mucosa, the small piece of tissue from the 7 o'clock position of the vaginal wall hymen contains epithelial erosion with underlying capillary congestion. A small number of red blood cells is present on the eroded surface, as is birefringent foreign material, which
What does
means
birefringent mean?
so the material was later analyzed by forensic experts and determined to be cellulose, which is wood, consistent with the broken paintbrush handle used in the garrote tied around her neck. The location was at the hymenal opening near the entrance of the vagina, associated with acute trauma, abrasion, and fresh bleeding on the night of her death. So I have a harder time imagining they would do that.
Okay, well, dude, yeah, no fucking duh. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like I keep reading shit that everything changes.
I know.
Of course I don't think they did that. I don't think that she was raped by her parents. I don't think she was ever sexually abused. I don't think Patsy ever sexually abused her. I think that if any abuse happened to JonBenét via Patsy, it was out of frustration, unintentional abuse, more frustration, aggressive wiping, that kind of a thing is easier for me to imagine. If she was raped with a fucking paintbrush handle, no. But then I also don't think that somebody had it in for John. I think that this was a sexual. I think that this was sexually motivated. I don't think that this would have been I hate John motivated. You don't rape a 6-year-old child because you're mad at a guy at her father. That's
I mean, it's rape, but it's not. It seems more
that is
like
rape, dude.
I mean, it's rape, but is that sexual for
Yes!
the person? I mean, it
penetration
could be,
in her vagina,
but it was not the person's fingers. It wasn't the person's mouth. It could be the mouth because of the spit. I know
now this upends everything. Now, yeah, of course there's going to be if you're raping a little 6-year-old girl with a fucking paintbrush, it's rape.
Yeah,
and if there's saliva, you are having your way with her. There's too much there.
But if it's a pedophile, which makes sense, why the note?
If you're shoving an object in a 6-year-old girl's vagina, you're a fucking pedophile. Change my mind.
Or a sadist. I mean, it's like
a sadistic pedophile. Well, there's a sexual component to it.
But if you think about it this way, if it is someone that had it out for John who was not a pedophile, but wanted to make it look like a pedophile, that would be the perfect thing to do because you don't want to.
Why would you want to make it? Just fucking kill the child.
I know.
It's enough.
But they tied her up like a pedophile.
He's fucking doing the most. Come on.
But it all looks staged. The whole thing looked totally.
The whole thing looks staged. But then this makes me now at this point I'm like, fine, Zell brothers, you guys are right. There is a fucking pedophile ring in Boulder, Colorado. This is why I'm just done with this fucking case. I'm done with this fucking case. I'm so tired of this.
Yeah, I think it was an intruder for sure. I mean, the intruder thing.
Well, yeah, now.
That was always the thing for me. I'm like, people are legitimately accusing the family of being that twisted to be like.
No, see, here's the thing. I don't think it's that twisted. If an accident happens and you're desperately trying to, it always comes down to this. You make a horrible, horrible, horrible mistake. You accidentally kill your child. It's the worst fucking thing in the world. But that would mean that she didn't necessarily suffer and deal with fear. That was always my thing because Patsy surviving cancer, chemotherapy, frustrated, under pressure, feeling like she has a limited amount of time. JonBenét poops herself, does whatever. Patsy maybe just is like, JonBenét, how many times have I told you? Boom.
Yeah.
Oh no, she fucking cracked her skull, but she's unconscious. And then they try to hide it to protect the family because they are image-based. Let's not kid ourselves. They open their home up to show it off for the holidays. Patsy loves all the pageantry, all of this. John loves what Patsy does for the family. She makes him look like $1 million. He's incredibly successful. They have an interest in protecting Burke from this. It's easier to tell Burke that somebody hurt his sister than, well, your mom accidentally fucking killed JonBenét, so don't tell anyone. That to me is more palatable. Obviously that didn't happen with the whole fucking paintbrush up the vagina thing. And the worst possible thing happened, which is somebody terrorized her She was looking at them, she was being raped by them, and she was murdered by a stranger. And the last moments of her life were not arguing with her mom, but basically being raped.
Yeah.
So that's the worst possible thing. I didn't want that. No, but no one wants that. But that's why I was like, I still, it's the Zell brothers, that is a whole, anybody that wants to go into a massive conspiracy can listen to the True Crime Garage episodes where they talk to the Zell brothers, and it goes into a whole pedophile ring and all of that. Because there is also in the pageant world, and with the number of pageants that JonBenét did, and you and I have talked about, like, if you're somebody that is a pedophile, you're going to find a way to be around kids in whatever capacity, whether you're a photographer, you work the door at the events, you do hair or makeup, you do any of these things, in the same way that it's like, if you're a pedophile, you try to work at a Chuck E. Cheese or a daycare center or a school, and you become obsessed, and you are trying to make it look like something happened. I don't know. I don't know.
The pedophile situation could either way. I mean, it could be a pedophile, could be a person who, but if you're a pedophile and you just want to get off and you want to go like have sex with a child, you sneak in the house, you do that, and you leave. The note doesn't make sense if you're just a.
Well, if you accidentally killed the child
But even
and then you're
then, you
like,
just leave. You just go and you're done, and you don't. Nobody's going to catch you. You snuck out in the middle of the night. What's the note going to get you? Nothing.
well,
Just
this is the other this is the thing, right?
yeah.
This is the thing that frustrates us all, because I could make the same argument about the guy that is mad at John Ramsey. There are a million things you could do that would take less time.
But he wanted John to know. That's what I think. That's
That it
my.
was him.
Yeah, you know, he wanted John to know that he was the target. That there was because you could. They were in the beauty pageant scene. They and the first place everybody's mind probably went was, "Oh my God, looks sexual. This is a pet. This is a pedophile who has been eyeing my daughter, and they snuck in and killed my daughter." And I think this person deliberately left the note because they did not. They wanted them to know why this happened, and it was because John was targeted, and it was like some revenge thing. I don't know, but maybe not. It could just be some wacko pedo who had a flair for drama and who was like, hey, 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 I want to fuck with them even more. But if you're just a sexually motivated pedophile, do you go that extra step? I don't know. And then if you look at the crime scene, it's not, he didn't steal the kid, kill the kid, dump the kid, which is what pedos usually do. Take them away from the house, have their way with them, and then kill the kid. It was done in the house for whatever reason. And she wasn't left to live like most of the time. The kids are killed because they can identify the person. But there were no, I mean, I know that's rape, sticking something unwanted in someone's orifices, but it's not, if you wanted to make it look like rape, but you were not a pedophile, you would do that. You wouldn't like use your fingers or you would make it look sexual. But who knows? It could have been a pedophile who had a problem with John. But or pedophile. I think either way, though, I think it's not the family. That's the main thing.
There's the theory that I went with for a while, and I'm not unconvinced of it. And this is kind of where True Crime Garage and the Zell brothers went, which is that
Oh yeah,
basically that the parents are not responsible for what happened to her, but they are trying to help cover it up out of fear.
yeah.
Out of fear for their own safety and for Burke's safety. And this goes into, apparently there's a lot of, the church that they belong to in Boulder had some people involved that are linked to
Mm-hmm.
some pedophile rings, that their own pediatrician was part of the church. There's a lot of things that there is a thing with the garrote used where it's so sick, but that like you tighten it and you stare, the child staring into your eyes, and that basically it was an accident,
Ah,
that she was not meant to die. I have no idea. Again, it's the note will always frustrate me and confuse me. All this to say, I don't believe that the parents ever intentionally hurt her. I don't think they would have ever intentionally hurt her. And even if somehow there's like a pedophile ring thing, I think it's something that they stumbled into by complete accident. Moving to
Totally.
Boulder, trying to be a part of the scene, trying to, they join this church because it's a popular church, and they're just trying to find a way to be a part of this. And unfortunately, because John Ramsey is so fucking rich and was so successful and doing so well, somehow they ended up in involved in knowing people, and then it became a thing of like, holy shit, what did they do? But also, we're in danger. The whole thing, and everything from Boulder police fucking things up, everything from even the Ramseys using their power and influence to make sure that they were protected, which is understandable, but that kind of fucked things up.
Yeah.
The inconclusive shit, it's any scenario you look at makes no sense. None of them do. Them killing their daughter makes no sense. An intruder theory, somebody who hates John, sure, that also, it's hard to get over. There's too many humps to try and get over. And then you end up with like a pedophile ring thing. And I'm like, I don't know, man. At this point, sure,
I
you
know.
know?
It's like, I think about, so as we were researching, I went full blown into each little scenario and tried it on. And I tried to just rewind and think of them as humans and as just people. Like, we have a family, we have these traditional values, this is what
Right.
we do. And I thought everything they've done, I think makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's like the cops immediately thought they were guilty. Not the DA, but the cops immediately thought they were guilty. They knew that. Someone called John from his business and said, someone on the inside says they think it's you. You need to get lawyers. Then they got the best lawyers you could get. And then the police got butthurt by that. And then it was back and forth and escalated. And I think they were hesitant to share information with the Ramsey family because they suspected them. And the Ramsey family was putting things saying, we won't come and talk to you unless you let us look at the evidence, and they were saying no. So the whole thing was just flawed and fucked up from the beginning, and everyone was trying to protect themselves. And I think if you're innocent, you do that.
Well, yeah, no,
Yeah,
I would lawyer up immediately.
yeah.
No matter what. So I don't fault them for that at all. Of course.
But then the
And
cops got all
again,
bitchy. Yeah.
sure. And the thing is that they have a family to protect, and especially them with their traditional values and things like that. They are thinking largely about not just them as individuals, not just about their daughter, but they're thinking about, how do we protect our family? How
How
do
do we
we
protect
protect
Burke?
Burke? Like, people forget about Burke. Poor Burke. He
That's
really
I
got the shit end of the
know.
stick in this whole thing,
He's
dude.
so cute too. He's so sweet. He's very handsome too.
Oh, no,
But
he did. He's a handsome devil. But the family was good looking. They were
and
attractive.
sweet. Like all of John's family and close friends, all of Patsy's family and close friends had nothing, but they were very kind and they were very loyal. It was the only people on the outside of their, that started to turn against them, and people, like their maid or whatever. But so I feel like that's a good sign of, his kids loved him. John's kids loved him. His other kids from his other marriage. I just feel like I can't imagine the hell they went through, honestly. Like, just being this family and doing your life and having this horrible thing happen to you, and then having the world be like, yeah, John, you molested your kid. And like, still to this day, people think that he's
Yeah.
guilty and he
Oh,
molested.
I know. I went
Ugh.
down some Reddit threads. So here's the thing too. Like, let's go into this other theory, which is pedophile ring theory,
Oh,
right?
yes. We know they
So
exist.
now let's look at JonBenét's toileting issues through that lens. It makes a lot of sense. If she's being sexually abused, I don't think that John was sexually abusing her. I don't think Patsy was, and I don't think Burke was. But somehow she was being exposed to somebody. Maybe when they go to church, if she's in like the Sunday school area, someone's has access to her. We don't know. but I don't think that the Ramseys were consciously putting JonBenét in situations where she could be abused. But I mean, it happens all the time where girls are getting abused.
Yeah.
If we look at JonBenét's toileting issues through this lens and through her vaginal issues through this lens, it makes a lot of sense, because kids, when they're being sexually abused, usually they have potty accidents, bedwetting picks up, because here's the thing too, is everything about her, like, she and Burke were both very intelligent kids. Like, when you listen to early interviews with Burke, he's well spoken. And I would imagine that JonBenét being able to memorize her dance moves, her songs,
Mm-hmm.
stage direction at the age of 5, because she
Mm-hmm.
was doing pageants, starting at age 4, I think, or 5. But she's memorizing all this stuff. Well fed, did well in school, was apparently very chatty and conversational with everyone. I don't think she had any abnormal behavioral issues as far as like throwing fits. If she ever did, I would think it's par for the course for her age, and maybe just expressing frustration
Mm-hmm.
with wanting to do things, just the normal shit. The toilet stuff was kind of over the top. This was beyond just, oh, I accidentally peed my pants at school, or I accidentally peed the bed. It was like fecal matter.
Yeah. So it does say here, oh God, you never can trust. So they said that she could have chronic vaginal inflammation. Pediatric visits for vaginitis, UTIs were frequent. Apparently, it says that the Ramseys took a relaxed approach to potty training using pull ups and plastic sheets rather than strict interventions. No autopsy, evidence of underdeveloped bladder. Bedwetting happened once a week. Housekeeper, grapefruit sized fecal incident in bed, attributed to her or Burke.
Let's stop
Yeah.
fucking blaming Burke for shitting
Poor
in her
Burke.
bed. He's like,
um,
and his room was like down the hall from her, like
if
a good distance away. He's gonna run into her room and
he's
shit in
all
her bed.
as a joke.
He's like, fuck
Um,
you.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
No. So it says bedwetting is common in children up to age 7, affecting 15 to 20% of 6-year-olds. At 6 years old, it's not unusual, especially if there's family history. Patsy mentioned similar issues with other children. Some sources note blah, blah, blah. Okay. High pressure lifestyle, pageants, frequent travel, and some emotional stress. Yeah. So I don't know. And sexual abuse. But yeah, I guess the doctor said there were no signs of sexual abuse, even though she was having UTIs, which might have been from wiping back to
Wait,
front.
the pediatrician said there were no signs of sexual abuse. Okay,
Yes.
he's the one that also has been linked to
The
stuff. So
church.
again, everyone's going to have, I don't know.
I know. We don't know. That's the thing. We don't know. We might know soon. Something. Maybe.
Yeah. And I feel like if it is a case of like John was worried about protecting his family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, at this point, he could also just be like, fuck it. Yeah, test the DNA. I'm done. I'm done with this. Like he's not going to, you know what I mean? It could be that if this is a case of this whole time he's been trying to protect the remaining members of his family, staying quiet, all that kind of stuff. Patsy's dead. Burke is a grown ass man now, living off doing his own IT job. John is an old man, and he's pissed that this happened at all. And when they're like, "Hey, we've got this stuff, we're going to test it," he might just be like, "Good,"
Yeah, they are
you
testing
know?
it and they have an appointment with him in January. So hopefully that means they're going to be able to tell him something in
Yeah,
January. So I don't really know I mean, I know that there have been advancements in
sure.
technology. I think that announcement sounded like they said they had new evidence, they had done new interviews, and they were retesting that DNA. So hopefully there will be some answers because John's old now, and he said has a better relationship with the police department now because they've got new management. There are new people there. So we shall see. And it's maybe if it's nothing, it'll just be a mystery forever, I guess.
Yeah.
I know. I feel so sad for the whole family. Ugh. Anyway, poor Burke.
I know. That's the thing. I picture Burke just being like, what do I have to do with any of this? I was just sleeping.
I know, and the things people said about him, God,
Oh yeah, like they're saying that everything from that he was like a little psychopath to that he is clearly autistic to that he was angry and jealous of his sister and all of that. And nothing in his behavior struck me. I mean, he might be a little bit odd. I also think that John is a little bit odd. Like it just very technical minded. You know what I mean?
yeah, my grandfather was an engineer, and he reminds me so much of John, and his, like it's very, like even the way he speaks, there's something
Mhm.
endearing about the way he speaks. It's very fatherly, it's very grandfatherly, it's calm, cool, and collected, and right, like, linear and concise, and, um, his demeanor is calm. He's got this, like, solid, calm presence. Patsy was I could identify with her a lot more in interviews because she could tell how fucking frustrated she was and hot, like, frustrated, and yeah, and what he said about flying the family away to Atlanta made a lot of sense to me. Like, this horrible thing happens to you, they never went back into that house after that, as far as anyone knows. They never returned to the house. And, he explained why he was trying to book that flight to Atlanta, and he was like, "I just thought I gotta keep Burke safe." Like JonBenét's buried there, someone else, his daughter's buried there. They're all probably going to be buried there. That was their home. All Patsy's support system was there. It just made sense for them to go there after this, to be close to people. And people frame that as like an attempt to escape. I think it was an attempt to escape from this horrible nightmare they were living to what felt familiar and safe to them.
And potentially it was their way to escape whatever
Yeah.
this thing was that they knew had taken their daughter, and he's just trying to get the family away because they got embroiled with some people that were into some fucked up shit that,
Yeah. Yeah.
it could be. I'm not saying it is. Again, that is a wild conspiracy theory, but as time has gone on and as we're moving into 2026, there's some shit that has happened in this world where I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck yeah, probably.
Yes.
Probably, you know?
Right. Well, we know pedophile rings exist.
Yeah.
Birds of a feather. And we weren't as aware in the 90s. I mean, I think we were coming upon kids were being abducted. There were the people on the milk cartons, but we weren't 100% dialed into these networks of people who harmed children and how they behaved, right? Like, they became Boy Scout leaders, they became church group leaders, they became teachers.
One thing is for sure, I do not think it was some ragtag kind of like hillbilly freak that murdered JonBenét. I think it was somebody well connected, and it probably was an accident. But if we look at the garrote and the use of the garrote and know that it is like a sadomasochistic tool.
Like an impotent, could have been like an impotent child molester, like got off on like penetrating her with something else because they couldn't or whatever. John Douglas had an interesting take on this. Said that like he thought it was a young person, a young white male who was not very experienced and who was disorganized, which I thought was interesting. John Douglas is not always right, but
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it would have to be somebody that's a sexual sadist,
Mhm.
and I mean, again, like look at what has happened in the last year or so, like with the Diddy parties,
Oh
with
yeah.
the stuff with Epstein, I guess, even though those girls were like on the older side of young.
That's a different I've just discovered the word for that. There's pedophilia and then there's this other philia where it's like
Okay.
older. It's post-pubescent or pubescent.
Okay.
The also with like, how all those children went missing during like mass immigration here, and we couldn't
Hmm.
find the children, and now we're discovering the children are being trafficked in these big
Yeah.
trafficking rings. There's a market, and it's disgusting.
And I'd like to look into these pedophile rings that apparently were just all over Boulder during
Yeah.
this period of time. I don't believe that John and Patsy were aware, and Patsy and John's grief is sincere, which is why I had thought originally if somehow this was an accident and Patsy had done this by accident and stuff, she's of course going to grieve even more so because of just feelings of shame and all of that. But we get the whole, I don't believe for a second that they were raping their daughter or even knew that she was being raped. But all of this coming afterwards and recognizing that this is what's happening, there's a palpable fear as well as grief that you see in Patsy. And then also how medicated she is.
I know.
You know, you can imagine just having to be on tranquilizers to just get through the fucking day. Anyways, sorry. I know we can go on forever with this, but welcome to winter season. Welcome.
Pulled out the big guns. Next time, we're going to do Adnan Syed and Heyman Lee.
No, I will not touch that with a 20-foot pole. I will not.
I think what's so fascinating about these cases is in the absence of a lot of information, where our minds will go.
Yes.
And how easy it is to believe any of those theories we put forward today. And you just spend some time trying it on and it makes total sense. You can make it make sense. And then I don't know. So it's our minds will do funny things. And it's hard. It's very hard for me as to follow the evidence. And I think people who are more measured, like the prosecutors, they are trained in following the evidence. And it prevents them from, you can hear their biases too in the podcast, but they're very good at saying, like, what does the evidence tell us? And I'm just not, I more infer things about people's psychology and the way they behave afterwards. But you can, that's also like one of those pictures. What are they called? Where it's like you can see two things.
Right. If you shift it ever so slightly and it changes.
Yeah. Cause I went from seeing down a path of seeing that family as like totally creepy and ooh, like, enmeshed mother and child who was fighting back against their mother by pooping the bed, like all these things to like, no, this is a pretty normal family going through normal family shit with a lot of tragedies piled up. And this terrible thing happened to them and they behaved in ways that can make a lot of sense. I don't know. That's where I ended up, but it took a long time.
Well, it's hard too because there's such an emotional component. We grew up with this case.
Yeah.
We were young when this happened, and I remember thinking, like, assuming that it would be wrapped up within a month. And here we are 29 years later, and maybe we're a little bit closer, just if this DNA thing, pans out. But it's hard not to feel like a little bit emotionally invested in it on many different levels. I mean, there's the level of this being a little exploited girl, right? Exploited also like by the media and the way that we portrayed her, the way the media portrayed JonBenét in the othering of her. And she just became a thing and became a spectacle, a huge spectacle. And people forget that, like, in the same way that Polly Klaas was murdered, in the same way that Amber Schwartz was murdered, like, there's this sympathy and this compassion for those children. But JonBenét, for some reason, because she was put out in the public eye as this doll creature.
Yeah.
And it was very lurid and stuff. It was hard to not really feel defensive of her. And then as time has gone on and I became a parent, then I'm looking at Patsy and I'm like, she fucked up in some ways. She's probably examining her own behavior around, did I do this right with her? Was I, and also the failure to protect. It feels like a huge failure to protect. And the way that people come out against her and John about, like, there was a whole Reddit thing, like, basically yelling at the late Patsy Ramsey because their bedroom was so far away from the kids' rooms.
Yeah. It's such a blame the victim moment where
really weird.
people
Yeah.
felt really comfortable blaming them and making a spectacle out of them while accusing them of making a spectacle out of their daughter. There's just a lot of a lot of, I don't know, is it like anger and contempt? There was just a lot of contempt toward that family. I don't know if it
A
was because
lot,
they
a
were
lot of
wealthy. Yeah.
I think that's part of it for sure. I think
Mhm.
there's a lot of anger because they're a wealthy family. There's a lot of contempt because there's a projection of our own anxiety onto this family
Right.
because the worst possible thing happened to you. God forbid it happened to us, or well, we would never.
Right.
Right there's a lot of
Exactly.
that. We would never.
Right.
So someone was even like, she couldn't even lock the doors or protect her child, and it's like they lived in a very affluent, wealthy fucking neighborhood. I don't even know if they didn't lock their doors. I know that there's always construction happening at their house, so a lot of people had keys. There
Yeah,
was also that.
I saw a list of people who had keys. The doors, some doors were unlocked and some windows were
They
open.
also had like a million doors. Like,
Exactly.
how do you keep track of all the doors? Like if one person who's like a maintenance dude forgets to lock the door because he's having to lock so many doors
Yes.
in the neighborhood, it's there, but for the grace of God go many of us. Anyway, I know we've got to wrap this up, but what are your thoughts, guys? Do you guys have any opinions?
Yes. Share your theories with us, please.
Share your theories, share any information you may have. I'm always interested when someone's like, I grew up in Boulder around their neighborhood or whatever. uh, I'm always intrigued too by if anybody has ever had any personal interactions with any of the people we talk about too.
Ooh, or
It's
if
always
you've been
interesting.
like a pageant kid, what that was like for you. Also, if we got something wrong, please let us know.
Yeah, which is totally possible because there's so many fucking
So much information, so many people
yeah,
weighing in, so many different, yeah.
yeah. But we're glad to be back. Welcome back. Follow us, please, on Instagram at Secret Passage Podcast. On X, we are at Secret Pass Pod. And join our Patreon if you like. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.